Sometimes, the people we forget hold the key to our redemption. But what happens when a billionaire meets the one person who remembers the part of his life he buried forever? If you're ready for a story that will touch your heart and remind you that kindness never goes unnoticed, then stay till the end, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories that will move your soul. The rain poured heavily over the city that evening, blurring the reflections of tall glass towers and golden lights into shimmering streaks on the wet pavement. In the heart of the city stood the prestigious Armitage Global Headquarters, a name that represented wealth, power, and ambition. Inside, in a sleek office on the top floor, sat Ethan Armitage, one of the country's youngest billionaires, known for his ruthless business sense and his cold, emotionless demeanor. People whispered that Ethan had no heart. He made deals that crushed small businesses, fired employees without a second thought, and lived a life of luxury untouched by the struggles of others. Yet, no one knew the secret behind his eyes, a secret buried deep in the shadows of his forgotten past. That evening, Ethan was reviewing a proposal for a new community project, a small orphanage on the outskirts of the city that was about to be demolished to make way for one of his real estate ventures. The orphanage had been home to hundreds of children over the years. But for Ethan, it was just another piece of land on a map. His assistant knocked lightly. "Sir, the representative from the orphanage is here to plead their case." Ethan didn't even look up. "Send them in. Let's get this over with." The door opened slowly, and in walked a young woman in her early 20s. Her clothes were simple, a faded blue dress slightly damp from the rain. Her hair was tied back neatly, though a few strands had escaped to frame her pale face. She looked nervous but determined. "Good evening, Mr. Armitage," she began softly. "My name is Clara. I'm here on behalf of the children of St. Mary's Orphanage. Please, we need your help. If you demolish that building, dozens of children will have nowhere to go." Ethan glanced up briefly, his expression unreadable. "Miss Clara, I've already made my decision. The land deal is signed. I suggest you find another place for the children." Clara took a step forward, her voice trembling but firm. "Please, sir. You don't understand what that place means. It's not just a building, it's home to children who have nowhere else. It's all they have. I grew up there myself." Ethan's pen froze midair. "You grew up there?" "Yes," she said quietly. "The orphanage was my home until I was 16. It raised me when no one else would. And there's something you should know, sir." She hesitated, her eyes glistening. "There's a boy there now, one who reminds me of someone I used to know. His name is Lucas. He's quiet, thoughtful, always helping the younger kids. He told me something strange last week. He said he once saw a photo of a boy who used to live at St. Mary's, and that boy looked just like you." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. His pen rolled off the table and clattered onto the floor. He looked up, his face pale. "What did you just say?" Clara blinked, taken aback by his sudden reaction. "Lucas said you looked like a boy who grew up there years ago. His name was Ethan too. That's just a coincidence, right?" The billionaire stood up slowly, his chest tightening. He turned away, looking out at the rain. "No, not a coincidence." For a long moment, silence filled the room except for the soft patter of rain on glass. Then, in a voice lower and shakier than Clara expected, Ethan whispered, "I was that boy." Clara gasped. "You lived in St. Mary's?" "Yes," he said quietly. "Until I was 12. I ran away after the orphanage burned one winter. I thought everyone else didn't make it." Clara's eyes widened. "No. The fire destroyed part of the building, but we rebuilt it. The caretakers found new sponsors and continued. I was one of the younger children taken in after that. They spoke of a boy who disappeared that night. No one ever knew what happened to him." Ethan turned back, his eyes distant, filled with guilt and disbelief. I thought my life began the day I was found by a wealthy man who adopted me. He gave me everything: education, business connections, power. I never looked back." He sat down heavily, his voice trembling. "All these years, I thought I'd escaped poverty. But I'd only escaped the memory of who I was." Clara stepped closer. "Mr. Armitage, those children, they are just like you once were. If you take their home, you'll be taking from them what little hope they have left." Ethan said nothing, but Clara could see the struggle behind his cold facade. The man who had built an empire on steel and concrete now sat broken, remembering a world of cracked walls and shared bread among orphans who had nothing but each other. The next morning, Ethan did something no one expected. He visited St. Mary's Orphanage. The building stood old but proud, its paint faded, its windows cracked. Yet, laughter echoed through the halls, laughter that carried innocence and life. Children ran up to him, curious and unafraid. Among them was a small boy of about 8 with messy brown hair and curious eyes. "Hi, sir," the boy said shyly. "Are you here to help us?" Ethan knelt down, feeling his throat tighten. "What's your name?" "Lucas," the boy said with a grin. "Clara says you're the man who can save our home." Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe I can." As they walked through the halls, Ethan's memories flooded back: the sound of rain leaking through the old roof, the smell of porridge from the kitchen, the warmth of small hands holding his during prayer. He paused in front of a faded photo on the wall. It showed a group of children, dirty but smiling. And there he was, among them, a skinny boy with bright eyes and a crooked grin. He touched the glass, whispering, "I forgot this part of me." Clara stood beside him, watching silently. "Maybe it's time to remember," she said gently. Over the next few weeks, Ethan did something unthinkable for a man of his status. He halted the demolition project. Instead, he poured his wealth and resources into rebuilding the orphanage. Not as a corporate project, but as a promise, a second chance. He met the children often, bringing them books, toys, and stories of courage. Lucas followed him everywhere, calling him Mr. Ethan, though sometimes he slipped and said Uncle. And Ethan didn't correct him. But there was one day that changed everything. Clara found Ethan sitting alone in the courtyard, watching the children play. She walked over and sat beside him. "You've done more than we ever dreamed, Mr. Armitage. The kids adore you." He smiled faintly, his eyes still on the children. "I didn't do it for them, Clara. I did it for the boy I used to be, the one I abandoned when I thought money could replace love." Clara looked at him softly. "You found him again. And maybe, along the way, you found your heart too." He turned to her. "Clara, when you came into my office that day, I saw something in your eyes. You reminded me of someone from long ago. There was a girl in the orphanage, always helping others, even when she had nothing. Her name was Clara too." Clara's lips parted. "That was me." Ethan froze. "What?" She nodded, smiling through tears. "You once gave me your last piece of bread, remember? You said, 'One day, when I have enough, I'll give back.' I never forgot those words. I just never thought I'd see you again." Ethan's eyes filled with tears for the first time in years. He reached out, taking her hand gently. "Clara, I owe you my life." She shook her head. "You don't owe me anything. You've already given back, to all of us." The wind rustled through the courtyard, carrying the sound of children's laughter, the same sound that had once given 2 orphans hope in a cold, uncertain world. Years later, St. Mary's Orphanage became a beacon of light, rebuilt as a modern home for children, with a library, playground, and classrooms. The plaque at the entrance read, "For those who once had nothing but love, may they never be forgotten." Beneath the inscription were 2 names, Ethan Armitage and Clara Bennett. And every year, on a rainy evening like the one they first met, Ethan would return to that courtyard and sit quietly, watching the children play, knowing that the boy who once ran away from his past had finally found his way home. Sometimes, the greatest wealth isn't found in bank accounts or skyscrapers, but in the hearts we touch and the lives we change. If this story reminded you of the power of kindness and redemption, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because every act of compassion begins with a story worth telling.